Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you, Gracie?
I am good. How are you, Dr. Holland?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and ask your questions for weeks 3, 4, and 5.
First is I am glad, I'm very happy to meet you, even though it's only through distance learning or virtual learning.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to meet you. But actually, I have one question, but it's not related to the chapters 3, 4, and 5. Is that okay?
That's fine. Yes, yes.
I am actually puzzled about the submission that the week 2 homework that I submitted.
Mhm.
I I am so sorry that I have to keep submitting and submitting because it looks right on my computer, but every time I submit, through submit on Blackboard, the formatting is off in
Uh,
Word document, but the PDF is okay.
okay.
But
So,
we just go ahead.
so I'll go ahead and look at your latest submission and see how it is. If there's like an issue or anything like that, I will definitely reach out to you in private.
Yes, it's just weird because I've been like I save it as a like 97 2003 Word document, and I save it like the most updated Word document.
Mhm,
But my week 1 homework, I use the same laptop and it was okay.
mhm.
But the second one is just like every time I submit on Blackboard, it's like the formatting has changed. Only the reference page and the title page, but the pages 2, 3, and 4, they're okay.
It's technology, but it's okay because sometimes when the students upload their work, we have it's the system automatically has it in like a PDF file view for us. So
Okay.
it may be crazy for you, but it may show up perfectly for us. So what I'll do at the end of our Zoom meeting, I'll reach out to you via private message and let
Sure.
you know yay or nay. That way you can focus on week 3.
Well, yeah, and it's just like I am one of those students. Like, okay, I need to get this right. I don't know if you know. So like, it's not that I am looking for perfection, but like I know I have to do it right. I have to do it like to meet your standard or the standards for the class. So, but I just want to reach out to you. It's like what, I'm gonna log in a little bit early, so maybe I could ask you that question. So thank you for accommodating my question.
Okay, you're so welcome. You're doing great, by the way. Everybody in the class is doing amazing. So
Oh,
I'm really excited to even meet you guys too.
thank you, thank you.
So we have about 4 more minutes. I'm gonna admit some more people in here. Hi, Shauna. Ooh, we have more people. Yay!
That's good. Let me just.
Hello, Anita's joined the meeting.
Hi, Anita. How are you?
I'm good. Hold on, let me see if I can make you see me.
Okay. And I see Mike Cell family has joined us. What's your first name, please?
Hi. Sorry, it's my children's computer. I'm Devin Mikesell.
Oh, hi, Devin.
Hello.
I know you bought a class discussion post. Nice to see you.
I'm gonna turn off my mic because we've got newborn puppies and they're noisy.
Okay, no worries.
Hi, Anita.
Hi, I'm a Zoom novice, so pardon me. But hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to our class. We're all in the same boat.
Gracie, you and I were in Leader 7-Eleven together, correct?
Yes, together with Shauna. I believe together with Shauna. She was also in that class.
Oh yeah, I love you
So
guys.
finally to have like to see the faces of my classmates, like I'm really happy to see you all.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, Karich Brock just joined us. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, we have about 2 more minutes and then we will begin.
My speaker is working now. Hi, Dr. Holland.
Hi, I can barely hear you.
Let me try to adjust this again. Give me a second.
Okay.
So here, there. Is that better? I only have two microphones, a stereo and a microphone. I have to try my headset. Try headset.
Okay, it's 4:30 p.m. Arizona Pacific Standard Time, and I want to make sure that I am using all of our times wisely. So the purpose of today's Zoom meeting is for us to address any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have about week 3 in developing your problem statement, week 4 with research alignment and purpose statement, and then week 5 for your research questions. So I want to know from you, have you had an opportunity to look at the week 3 overview? Hello.
Hi.
I can hear you too. Oh my gosh, we can hear you.
I was struggling over here. I was struggling.
But you made it. That's what matters the most. You're here.
I did it. I did it.
Yes, you did.
I like to say for the assignment that we actually have for, I think it was a reading information we had on strategies to win, 6 steps for creating a problem statement. This was really helpful, extremely helpful. So I have my highlights.
Okay. Okay.
And I think there was a printout that actually talks about the problem statement, and I like that it gives examples. The guide to developing the problem statement, this one is helpful too.
Yes, yes. Has everyone located that? Okay, great. Because what I was going to do, I'm going to share my screen with you. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay, so in this example here, the biggest thing with problem statements that I noticed that students struggle with is they have a great idea of identifying the problem, but they don't use a citation. So if you're going to document a problem, it is so important that you have your in-text citation to support your problem. So when you turn in your own problem statement, that's what I'm looking for. Did you state the problem? Is it documented that there is a problem in the field? And then we need to know why it's a problem.
Okay.
Or whatever the consequence may be. Now, I've been reading your class discussion posts and responding back to you as well. And something that I want to encourage you to do is, as you review the literature, make sure that you're looking at what type of research or approach to research design that they have done. Is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? Or is it mixed methods? Because as you go into your week 4 and your week 5, there are certain key terminology that's associated with a different type of approach to research. For example, if you're going to be looking at relationships, if your problem statement requires you to look at a relationship between maybe some type of variable like toxic leadership and employee satisfaction, I'm just giving a random example here, then your purpose statement will need to make sure that there's some type of verbiage of you determining if there's some type of relationship, like you're examining the relationship. The way you get those specific words is by reviewing the literature, by looking at other research studies that have been done to see how that is framed. Now, if keeping in the line of looking at relationships, if it's a correlational relationship design, then your purpose statement must also agree with that. And then your research questions must also be associated with, is there a relationship, or what is the relationship, or to what extent is the relationship? It needs to match. So in week 3, I'm only looking to see if you can identify a problem. We have someone else joining us. Whether that problem is documented, so I will look for the in-text citation as well as the particular reference. Hi, Ms. Power.
Hi, how are you?
Just fine. I'm so glad to see you.
I can change this to Melody. I was just working with a student. Sorry. It's nice to meet you all.
Okay. And then we're looking to figure out, okay, well, why is this a problem? What is the consequence? So before we move on to week 4, is there any type of questions that you may have about developing your problem statement?
Dr. Holland, Gracie, it's Gracie.
Yes.
So I just want to clarify. So even though I have a problem in mind, so because I didn't, well, I did my research before, and so when I find, or let's say identify a research problem, so I need to find an in-text citation that is related to the problem that I would be working on. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it needs to be a problem that's dated within the past 5 years.
5 years, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I want to kind of scroll down and just let you guys see the word of caution. So many, oh, here it is. So many times students, you know, they develop their topic based upon things that they experience or witness in their own professional setting. And you have to be careful with that, because sometimes when you have that preconceived idea, we call that research bias. It can kind of interfere with sticking along the lines of looking at your research topic objectively. So that's why I stress to students, review the literature. If you are seeing that, you know, there are gaps in the literature where there's not a documented problem, then now you have a novel or a creative aspect to where your research could really be significant to your field. So just pay attention to, you know, developing your problem statement out of, you know, your soapbox, so to speak. And that's part of the reason why we are requiring that there's a documented citation there to document the problem.
Right, so it's not more of your opinion, it's actually proof because you've done the research about the particular problem.
Yes, and I've had and worked with students who definitely, I see this a lot in like cultural or historic type of studies, qualitative studies. And the truth is, there's not a whole lot of literature out there to support what they're witnessing. Right. So what they have to do is go with what they're seeing in the field, but they still have to have citations there and be clear on what they're communicating, because sometimes when you are putting your own objectives and opinions in things, especially when it's like cultural or historical type of content, it causes a issue. It becomes, the integrity of the research is sort of like taken away, and it becomes an opinion piece.
Mhm.
And that's not what research is about.
Dr. Holland,
Yes. Who is this?
this is Melody.
Oh, Melanie. Okay.
I just wanted to ask you about, because mine is kind of difficult, but there's been a lot of research and I've seen data in my own field year after year. So what I was thinking was to take I have the data in the research environment, but I also have other people that have tried to use the data. So I guess what I'm saying is, I found someone who they identified the gap with behaviors and getting, expulsion or suspension with high schoolers. And then they took it and applied a program to see if it changed the data.
Okay.
So, I guess that's what I was thinking of doing, is where I'm identifying that there's a gap, a diversity gap, but then I'm also going to apply a program to see if that changes the diversity gap.
So here's some things to think about. I have a question for you. Has this data already been collected? Is it archival data?
We have data from last year and the year before last, and then we collect as we go along this year. So it's PBIS data, so it's behavioral data, and you can desegregate any way you want it. So
Okay.
if you want to go by cultural, race, sex, whatever you wanted to divide it into.
The descriptive statistics will be instrumental to your study. So make sure you look at inferential statistics on how to document the demographic aspects of it. But I will encourage you to look into, it's called the ex facto research design. Let me see if I can type that in. Let me stop sharing my screen and go to the chat. Okay, it's ex post facto research design. And what you're looking at is relationships. But again, with that PBIS data, there's so many different variables that you could look at. So
Right.
I would encourage you to review the literature, not necessarily the data that has been collected at your school or you have access to. You need to see what has already been done in the literature and how has that data been used in that particular field. Now, IRB requires you to collect data after your research proposal has been approved. Like, you have to submit that before you can begin collecting data or anything like that. But if you are looking at data that has already been made public, then that's called archival data. It's already done. You can't change it or anything like that. That's why I'm encouraging you to look at the ex post facto research design, because it looks at data retroactively.
Okay.
And typically you have to have at least 3 or more years for it to be meaningful, to see if there's any statistical significance.
Yeah, I can go back as far as, I think it was 2003 when they got the program, and I was like amazed. I was like, what happened in 2002? Because there was very little suspensions, but that was just because the system wasn't up and running at that point.
Okay.
But I could go back, but then that's the other thing, if I could say that eventually I could collect the next year. I don't know. Or you think I should just do ex post?
I will not make that decision for you. When I work with, for as long as I've been teaching, I'm going on 16 years now, I have never told a student what they should do. It's more valuable for me to give you a couple of pointers so that you can learn the knowledge for yourself. Because as a researcher, it's expected that you review the literature and that you make the best decision for the research methodology and design for your study, because this is your research. This is not my research.
I feel like I couldn't even collect it this year because this year, you know, in all public schools in America right now, it's not a normal year. So I can't really even take the data from this year until all our students are back in. And I don't know when that's going to be.
Okay, so what you just described is considered a limitation of your research. So, you know, there's multiple ways to go about this. I just want to make sure that we're all clear that no data collection should be going on until IRB has approved your application.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, even if you choose the ex post facto research design, you still have to submit an IRB application and let them know whatever they request of you of how you're going to access that information.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You did say something about a program. I would also advise you to look and see, you know, why would you want to do that? Because if you're going to implement a program, now you're looking at experimental research design, where there's a treatment, then there's a control. So you got to figure out what is feasible given the limitation that you just mentioned for your research.
Okay.
Okay? You have any other questions about that?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we have a
Dr.
question.
Holland,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You can do, I think Shauna has one first.
Oh,
but,
yes.
I have one after a
Okay.
question.
I was just going to make a general comment. When I'm sharing the screen, if there are any questions that come up in the chat, I'll address them as soon as we stop sharing the screen, okay? Okay, yeah, because I didn't see Shauna's question until I popped up the chat box. I'm so sorry. What do you do if there is not a lot of research on the subject? Do we need to change it? That's going to be up to you, Shauna, because if you're finding that there's not a lot of research on the subject, it could mean two things. It could mean that there's truly a gap in the literature, and now you have original research, and now you will be considered a researcher who has conducted research first, or starting out with something to kind of have other researchers look at that area or that topic. Or you could say, well, there's not a lot here. Let me look at a different aspect. So in week 2, you learned about the feasibility of a research topic. That's where if you see that there's not a whole lot of literature, you can definitely change your topic or change a different aspect, or you can stick with it and see what could be done there. But that's a question that you would discuss with your chair, so that your chair could definitely give you a little bit more information about that. But at this particular point, because you're just developing your problem statement, it is totally fine to abandon that topic and look for something else. Okay. Shauna, do you have any other questions? All right, Anita, I am so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I saw Shauna's thing, so I knew I was second. So I'm interested in using, basically, I'm looking at followership theory and trying to apply it to what I think is a problem. And my question is, I'm kind of torn between using as an exemplar, not necessarily to prove, you know, how effective followership theory would be to solve the problem. A case study, but maybe affirmative inquiry would be better. And have you had experience with other students? You know, how effective is case study as a research design?
It's very effective. My background is organizational leadership, and the theory that you're using is fabulous, but I want to make sure that we're clear in terms of research. It doesn't prove anything. It just reveals and show trends and findings. There are like 4 different type of case studies that you can look at. Has each of you had an opportunity to look at the doctoral guide?
Yes.
Yes, and I read it. Mhm.
Okay, let me see if I can quickly pull that up so that I can support you with that.
So while you're pulling that up, Dr. Holland, I was actually going through the reading, and I'm such a nerd when it comes to that. I started writing down my problem statements as they were coming to me, because I was just like, wow, I could possibly do something on that topic, or I can possibly do something on this topic. But I found so many opportunities. I feel like the guy from the Twilight Zone, where he was in the library and he dropped his glasses and he had all the books to read.
So
That's
amazing. Piggyback to Karish, to her question. So just to clarify, so we're only required to have one problem statement, or it could be more than one.
Well,
Got a lot.
here's the thing.
Because she's showing a lot of problem statements already now. I'm thinking, how many problem statements do I need to have?
But that's my way of processing it.
I just want.
Yes. So what she's doing is going through the creative process.
Okay.
And when you submit your work, or when you work with your dissertation, there should be like a general problem and a specific problem, but it should be related to the same thing. She just has many problem statements of possibilities of where she wants to take her research.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So it's basically one.
Yeah.
The way I'm understanding it is one big problem statement with sub or objective problems.
Yes.
Okay,
that
thank you.
Documented.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so this is like your new Bible, guys. This is your dissertation Bible.
148 pages.
Yes, Dr. Boone, one of the deans here, the dean of College of Doctoral Studies, he created this, and oh my gosh, it's just fabulous. So if we go here to case study, let me see if I can click on that. Oh, wow, it takes you there.
Yes.
I just learned that.
Cool.
And scrolling all the way down. Okay, it takes you through everything that you need to know here. So back to your question, Anita, do you see that there is like an exploratory, explanatory, descriptive, intrinsic, instrumental? It is going to be collective. What else? Okay, that's it. What you need to figure out is what you're doing. Are you looking at why a phenomenon occurs, or what is occurring? Depending on what you're looking at, that is how you're going to choose which case study you're looking at. Now, I have experience and I have worked with students with all these case studies, but I have personal experience with the instrumental case study. And this one is where you're trying to test an existing framework or theory. So that may be something you may be trying to do to see if that theory works. So I don't know exactly how you're going to look at it, but this page here in the study guide or the dissertation guide will help you narrow down which specific research design you should choose.
I think for what I'm interested in, the instrumental is the type that would be because the followership theory is so new, relatively speaking. You know, in looking at the research, they're really, because things are usually leadership centric focused. And I happen to work in an organization that may or may not realize, to me, they are an exemplar that would enhance the existing theory of successful followership. And so, I think I'm in a position where I haven't approached them yet because I want to get further along. But I think that in trying to further legitimize the concept of followership as actually a critical leadership approach, that this would be a great exemplar, and you know, that in that this company would be able to provide insight into the issue or problem, but that would be a main part of the dissertation. But the literature review and maybe I'm not sure yet because I'm just starting this, but there, you know, there may be some other aspects to it, but I would like to kind of have it as a central case study, but I'm not sure how that works with, you know, in a dissertation. Is that an appropriate way to use a case study?
You can, but here's some things that I would like for you to think about at this particular time. I've had this happen to other students. I've had it happen to myself. I started out doing research thinking I was going to use a particular learning organization. They changed leadership, and the leader that was there said yes, but the new leader that came in said, I don't know. And then I don't know eventually became no.
So should I approach them now and kind of get the buy-in while I'm doing it, or how should I approach it? I don't think this leader's going anywhere, but you never know in this environment.
I mean, we're in 2020. Nothing this year has been predictable.
Yeah, amen to that.
So here's what I'm going to answer your question from a research perspective. I would focus on what the review of the literature is saying. And think about it like this, Anita. This theory, more than that learning organization around the world, will need your expertise in this. So you may want to see what areas has it already been done in, which countries, and so forth, and don't necessarily be married to one learning organization, because as you go on your dissertation journey, you may expand and decide to look at other learning organizations. Now, I've had instances too where we've gotten to the IRB approval, we've gotten to, you know, the site permission form. When it came time to collect the data, still wasn't able to do it. There was some type of limitation. They keep in mind, they can always say no. So you don't want to put your eggs in one basket when you're designing your research. You want to stick to the integrity of what the research is saying so that it can be generalized and applied to. If you're doing a case study, especially an instrumental case study, are you going to be doing this at one single site, or are you looking at multiple sites?
Initially, I was thinking one site, but based on what you're saying, is I can start looking at, because I have access. But I should, in listening to what you're saying, is, yeah, that's definitely, they may change their mind or whatever, you know, is maybe coming up with a couple other options. I have clients, I'm a consultant.
Mm-hmm. So you know.
So I work for a major, you know, very well, you know, much awarded firm. That's why I think they'll go along with it because of the nature of the company, but and the CEO and the chief people officer, et cetera, that, you know, they're very well known. And I think they would love this to be, you know, an example and go along with it. However, you're right, if there's a leadership change or whatever, that may not be the case anymore. I don't think my clients, because they're government, most of them are government, high-ranking executives that I actually work for, but I think a lot of them are not going to want to be public or in a dissertation or public. Like maybe if I was anonymous, I might be able to use some of my client organizations, but I would have to come up with another organization that maybe I don't have a direct relationship with. And I think that might be harder going in cold and going, hey, you know, unless I approach them saying, I'm doing this research, I admire your company, I think, you know, I'd like to study you further because this is my theory or something like that. But I don't know how successful other people have been, is just going cold to an organization and saying, you know, I'd like to study you if you're not already inside of it. I don't know, what experience have you had?
Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. Many learning organizations, depending on what you're looking at, they will not allow certain data to become public, even if it's anonymous, de-identified. I just want to be upfront and honest with you. You know, it has nothing to do with their reputation or anything like that. It's just how it is in the real world when it comes to research. So I don't want to discourage you from your topic because you need to continue to explore it. What I am saying is review the literature and see what has been done, how data has been collected. It may be data that is considered archival that you can look at, like records or things of that nature. Be careful with your clients because that's like an IRB question. Now you're looking at conflict of interest. Many research studies have been done like that to where you have to disclose it, which is fine. But at the doctoral level, there may be specifics, and the best resource for that is to check with the IRB office.
Yeah. I haven't approached I'm very confident that my clients would not agree, and that my company probably would not let me, you know, so I think my clients are going to be off limits because I agree with you, I'm too directly involved, and because I'm working with them, you know what I mean? I don't, you know, I'm there to solve their problems in a different way. And so I think they're not going to, you know, I think that that's not going to really work for me. So I would either have to go to my parent company or companies that, or organizations that I don't have an affiliation with.
Now, sometimes I know some students have said that they got approval like in a school district where they could collect data, but they couldn't collect data at their particular school. It had to be a different school. So that's an option that you could look at. Maybe you could still do the research within the firm or the parent company, but not necessarily where you service clients and work with people in leadership there. I mean, that's something to think about. But I guess I'm glad you're bringing this up now because this is something you need to keep in the back of your mind, because you don't want to invest a lot of time designed on something exclusively for a learning organization and then have to later change it. That's why I'm encouraging you from a research perspective, look at it holistically.
I have a question, Dr. Holland.
Yes.
So I am a Montessori teacher, have been for a couple decades. And what I'm looking at is that there is a problem when we have outside sources. For instance, if we bring in someone who is not Montessori trained and they come and be the director. So what I was thinking for a research topic is for that specific thing of looking at data and gathering data for those directors and from directors who come into the Montessori approach without any training.
Okay.
And is that something that would be viable? Is that, I mean, when I talk to the Montessori community, of course it is, but is that something that's viable, that would be considered a viable thing for research, for a leadership and ed leader position for doctorate, for education?
I would say yes. Are you looking at this qualitatively?
Yes, yes, this would be looked at qualitatively.
Okay, would you have a checklist to where you would create a checklist, create something that would be of value? So this will help. This
Okay.
will help.
Yes, this would help. This would help other directors. This would help other Montessori schools. So something like that is that, I mean, and I don't want to, there's not a lot of data. So a lot of it's going to have to be, you know, like gathering data and what were the experiences of these directors who came in with no Montessori experience.
That's valuable because we need to know their side of the things. I mean, it's just one thing to have a job, you know.
Right, right.
But we need to look beneath that. Okay, well, what type of training did you have that made you accept this job? You know, those type of questions. I would definitely consider you, you know, definitely doing, collecting like demographic or baseline data, not necessarily related to like race or anything like that. It's so important to focus on like the level of experiences to see if they have any certifications. All of those things are considered demographical or descriptive statistics. You need to know a little bit more about where they have taught, what their experiences are. You know, are they coming from high school or just in the common world, like retail? You need to know a little bit more of their background.
Okay.
So that could also add value to where maybe people may be pulling a pool of new directors.
And one of the things, the advantage that I have at this point, I am taking a leadership training course through Montessori. And so I'm meeting these directors from all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to what I'm doing for my doctorate, I'm also taking this Montessori administrators training. So with that said, so I just wanted to know if this would be something that could be a valid research project, and though, even though there's not a lot of data, that we would do this qualitatively and, you know, design questions and that sort of thing.
Stick with it, because early childhood is the building block of everything, really.
Right.
And Montessori, that's my favorite approach. But yeah, you stick with this.
Okay. All right. So thank you.
You're welcome. Gracie, you're welcome.
So after hearing your feedback to Anita and Shauna, so my question is, before I even start chapters 1, 2, and 3, would you suggest that I should ask my director right now and say, hey, I'm thinking of, you know, about this study, and it will include all our paraeducators and teachers in special education? Should I go ahead and ask permission from her so my first 3 chapters won't be a waste, just in case she would say, no, you have to go to a different school district?
Okay.
I'm just, like I said, it's like after you said that it could be like, you know, they might say no, and I have started, you know, the research problem. I have all of chapters 1, 2, and 3, and then now I'm about to get data, and then my director would say no.
I'm gathering my thoughts because intuitively I'm just saying, this is your research.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with your supervisor. But
I need to ask permission from her in order for me to conduct my study.
Well, that's what I was telling Anita. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You do need to, I mean, this is a great way to let her know that you are a lifelong learner. You can let her know that you're contemplating about studying XYZ, but, you know, you need to pose it to, you know, if it turns out that I need a place to conduct my research, would it be possible for me to conduct my research here? You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to make sure that you are designing your research to where you have options.
Yeah, so actually, I don't know if I should. So the overview of my problem is this. I'm seeing a big problem in our organization for, I've been in this school district for, I would say, 15 years now, no, 12 years. And I'm seeing the same problem, repeating every year at the beginning of school year,
What's the problem?
So the problem is, paraeducators, when we do trainings, they're not catching up with the technology.
Oh,
Either they
yes, I
don't know how,
remember
yes.
that in your post.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then again, in our kids, even though they're in special education, I would say that the kids are more advanced in terms of, that they're using the technology. So how are they going to do the job if the kids are more advanced while, the paraeducators and teachers are not even well equipped, to use the technology? So that's a problem I'm seeing in the organization. So now I cannot say that the same problem is happening in other school districts because they are smaller. I am working for a big school district. It's a county school district. So we are a big school district.
Okay, so I understand, I hear everything you're saying, but I want to go back to the soapbox.
Okay.
Because if this is an issue that is documented, that's why that citation is there. You got to have the citation for your problem statement. If it's something that's going on in other districts or other learning organizations, now you have just opened up yourself to be able to conduct research in more than one location in case you get a no.
Okay, I will try my best. Okay,
so
thank you.
Review the literature first. And then again, you should be able to talk with your leader about those type of topics and what you're finding in the research.
Okay.
But you want to kind of test the waters and see if he or she will allow you to even conduct the research there. But if
she probably might say, but if she says you have to go to the superintendent, that's a different story.
Well, most school districts, they have a system in place where they review research requests. And in those requests, they either can say yes or no, even though the campus principal person has said yes. It's up to the school district. So I want you to be aware of that so that it's not like oh my gosh, what has happened?
I'm a little bit terrified.
Don't be terrified. It's part of the process of being a researcher.
Thank you.
So side note.
Okay.
This is not for me, but Gracie maybe. Because what it almost kind of sounds like is I think, and I mean, you'd have to double check it, but I think there's a generational gap is the reason why you would have, and I think that's been researched.
Yes.
Could she start with that? Like it's a separate thing, but the generational gap is probably, so I don't know that it's every school district and that you'd be able to find research on school districts having a para student gap, but I'm almost positive that the generational gap has been researched, just as an idea.
I think I have seen that. Yeah, I think I have seen that, and actually, I have seen 5, studies already that can, support my study. But then again, it's just like, it's kind of like still, I'm trying to narrow down my topic. But I have seen the study that you're talking about, Mikasel. Devane, right? Devane. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so sorry.
This is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Like, that's huge. Okay, so we spent a lot of time in week 3. We only have about 18 minutes, well, maybe 10 minutes. I don't want to just say bye. But do you have any other questions about problem statements?
Can I just clarify really fast?
Yes.
We are creating, because they've got in the week 3 signature assignment, it has the sample problems. And then right after that, it says write a 1 sentence. We're not writing it on the sample problems, correct? We're starting our own problem.
That's what I would do, is work very smart.
I'm good with that. Just clarifying.
Yeah, I would test out my problem, get some feedback on what I want to do. And then you can always revisit that when you go into Doc 723, where you'll write chapters 1 and 2. But for right now, you can at least spend your time wisely and get some feedback.
So writing our own problem statement, our own, okay.
Okay, any other questions about week 3 problem statements? All right, moving on to week 4, research alignment and purpose statement. Do you have any questions about the purpose statement?
I think I got it.
Okay, and week 5 for research questions. Any questions about that?
Is there a limit about in terms of how many research questions?
Great question, great question.
I don't know if it's a good question, but I'm like thinking, because I have seen some studies and, you know, they are like, I have seen 3, 5, you know, research questions. I don't know if it's a standard number or it could be more than that.
At the doctoral level, I generally advise students 2 to 4 research questions.
Okay, 2 to 4, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they have a primary question if it's qualitative, and then they have sub-questions. If you are working with a quantitative study, then not only do you have to have research questions, you also have to have hypotheses to support it.
Then my follow-up question, Dr. Holland, is, so if, let's say if you're doing a mixed method, right? So the research question, does it mean you need to have, you can have 2 to 4 for the qualitative part and 2 to 4 for the quantitative part, or it should be 2 to 4 for both?
2 to 4 for both.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there are specific mixed method research designs that have to be used. Like it wouldn't be case study and ex post facto research design. No, they have specific names exclusively for mixed method research designs. And it's either going to be qual, quan, or quan, qual. It depends on which one would go first or whatnot. Okay, any other questions?
I'm excited.
Me too. I can't wait to read your work.
I just want it to be done.
So this is our first Zoom meeting for this class. I won't host another Zoom meeting unless, you know, I get a lot of questions in and each of you want to, you know, talk through some things, but I like to use all of our time wisely. I like to be on the class discussion board responding to you, but I also wanted to make sure that you know that you have support as well.
And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for meeting us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this for us.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to be here. I love research. I love working with students, and this just really lights up my night and my day.
I'm just happy to see my classmates from leadership class, Shauna and Anita. I think we were in the same class last month. So I'm happy to see you both here.
It's nice to see you too, Gracie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, I want to make sure we use our class time wisely. Is there anything else?
Thank you so much.
I don't think I have any questions at the moment, but if I have some more, I certainly will make sure I ask those. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, if nothing else, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I am about to go eat dinner.
Oh, enjoy your dinner. Be safe, everyone. Bye.
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 Bye. Yeah.